The alert arrived while I was sitting in traffic at 8:49 a.m. I thumbed it open with one hand on the wheel and read $21,118.77 withdrawn. I pulled over, hazard lights clicking, and opened the details. The transfer was authorized by my husband's name, stamped minutes earlier. The memo field held a single phrase: account consolidation. We were in a divorce. Consolidation wasn't allowed. I scrolled far enough to see the destination bank, then took a photo of my screen. Cars honked behind me. If I didn't act, I would walk into mediation broke. My hazards blinked against the gray slush at the curb. A salt truck crawled past, rattling. I set my phone in the cup holder like it was hot. I kept replaying the same thought, mean and simple. Daniel knew my rent hit on the 1st. I drove the rest of the way to the office with my jaw locked. My hand smelled faintly like the citrus hand gel I kept in the console. At a red light, I opened the bank application again and stared at the memo phrase, like it might change if I watched it long enough. 21,000 doesn't disappear by accident. By the time I got to the parking lot, my coffee was cold and my eyelids burned. I had a showing after work, disclosures to print, and mediation at noon downtown. That was the whole day, stacked like plates. Inside, the heater blasted dry air that made my knuckles sting. I hung my coat and slid my tote onto my chair. The strap thumped the desk edge, and I remembered the stamped envelope tucked in the side pocket. It had been sitting on my kitchen counter for 2 days, addressed in Daniel's neat block letters. I had grabbed it without thinking, the way I grabbed everything lately, just trying to keep the floor from falling out. I didn't open it. I just set it beside my keyboard and smoothed it once with my palm. My coworker, Lena, drifted by with her travel mug and her hair still damp. She nodded at my face like she could read it. "You look like you slept in your car," she said. I tried to laugh, and it came out thin. Traffic. Lena's eyes dropped to my phone screen when it lit up again. No new alert, just the bank logo from my earlier panic. She lowered her voice anyway. "Is he doing something?" I turned the phone so only I could see it. Control. That was the only thing I had left that felt like mine. "I'm fine," I lied, and my tongue felt too big for my mouth. Lena didn't buy it. She leaned in, just enough to make it clear she was choosing a side. "Marissa, do you want me to sit with you at lunch?" The word lunch made my stomach clench. Mediation. A beige room. A folder. People acting like numbers were just numbers. "I might need you after," I said. "Not during." She nodded once, tight. "Okay. After." There's stole du nez. When she walked away, I opened the bank application on my desktop computer because my phone suddenly felt too small for what I was seeing. I typed my password wrong twice. On the third try, the account summary loaded. The joint account balance showed 0. A clean, brutal number. I clicked into transactions and scanned the past month, not because it would bring the money back, but because my brain needed a pattern, needed a reason. I grabbed a yellow highlighter from the drawer and uncapped it with my teeth. My hand froze over something I had never noticed. Every other Friday, a deposit came in that looked normal at first. Paycheck amount, same employer line, but it was split. One deposit for a little over $2,000, another for a little over $800, both within minutes. Then a transfer out, always within an hour, always labeled like a routine bill. I dragged the cursor over the lines, and my heart bumped hard once, like it had hit a stair. My own name was on the account, and I was the last to know. I printed the page anyway. The printer whirred and spit out warm paper that smelled like toner. I held it up, eyes scanning the columns, and realized how stupid my trust had been. I had been so busy trying to be reasonable that I had stopped looking. I folded the printout into thirds and slid it into the stamped envelope without thinking. The envelope bulged slightly, corners crisp. A tiny ritual. Delay. My phone buzzed. Daniel's name flashed on the screen. I didn't answer. I watched it ring out. Then I read the preview line that popped up under his name. "Don't do anything dramatic before noon." I stared at that sentence until the letters blurred. Dramatic. Like money was a mood. Like rent was a threat I made up. I picked up the stamped envelope and turned it over. The stamp was from a local bank branch, the kind with a small lobby and a coffee stand that always smelled burnt. There was a date beside the stamp, 2 days old. I hadn't been sent an alert on purpose. I had been sent it by mistake, and someone else had been meant to stay blind. My hands moved before my courage did. I slid the envelope open just enough to see a single page inside, thick paper, official heading. At the top, in bold, was a recipient name I had never seen tied to our money, followed by 4 digits. Holt Family Trust Account, ending 4,421. Word count, 862. Next step, reply, 1. Continue, equals write part 2. Edit equals revise. Part 1 tell me what to change. Stop. Continue. Inos. By 10:11 a.m. I was parked outside the bank branch on High Street, staring at the stamped envelope in my lap. The lobby doors opened and closed like lungs. People came in with winter cheeks, left with little paper slips. I smoothed the envelope again. Same spot, same motion. The envelope felt heavier than the money it named. Inside, the air smelled like burnt coffee and floor cleaner. A bell chimed when I stepped over the mat. I took a number from the dispenser, then realized my fingers were shaking and folded the tiny ticket into a hard crease. A man in a gray coat glanced at my face and looked away. A teenager tapped at a phone near the chairs. Normal Tuesday stuff. My stomach didn't get the memo. When the screen flashed my number, I walked to the counter and placed my phone flat on the ledge. I slid it forward with the photo of the withdrawal still open, like a card I didn't want to play. The teller's nameplate read Kendra. Her smile held for 2 seconds, then thinned. "Good morning," she said, eyes flicking from my phone to my hands. "How can I help you?" "My husband emptied our joint account," I said. I kept my voice level. Kendra's gaze tightened on the transfer amount. She didn't touch my phone. She didn't have to. "Did you authorize it?" she asked. "No." She nodded once, then lowered her voice to a practiced calm. "I'm going to ask you to step over to our customer service desk. They handle account issues like this." Account issues. I picked up my phone and followed her pointing finger. My boots squeaked on the tile. I passed a table with brochures and grabbed a pen without thinking, the kind tethered to a chain. I needed something to hold that wasn't rage. At the customer service desk, a woman in a navy cardigan introduced herself as Nadine Brooks, branch manager. She had a neat braid and a face that looked kind until it didn't. She gestured to a small side counter, half hidden by a frosted divider. "Okay." I opened the stamped envelope and slid the printout I had folded into thirds onto the counter. The paper made a soft slap. Nadine's eyes went straight to the bold line. "Holt Family Trust," she read quietly, then looked up. "Where did you get this?" "It was in an envelope on my kitchen counter," I said. "Stamped here. 2 days ago." Nadine's expression changed. Not pity, not surprise, something closer to caution. "I need to verify your identity," she said, "and I'm going to call our fraud specialist." Fraud specialist. The word landed like a metal pan dropped in a quiet kitchen. I handed over my license with 2 fingers like it might burn me. Nadine typed, fast. Her nails clicked on the keys, steady and indifferent. She kept her body angled to block the screen. A man in line shifted closer, pretending not to listen. I could feel it. The way strangers lean toward wreckage. Nadine picked up the desk phone and spoke low, eyes on my paperwork. "I have a joint account holder here with an unauthorized transfer." "Yes, amount is 21,118.77. Initiator listed as Daniel Holt." She paused, listening, then asked, "Can you pull call history and location pins related to the authorization?" Call history. Location pins. My chest tightened like a strap. She hung up and looked at me like she was choosing her words carefully. "The account is joint, which means certain actions are allowed. But the timing and routing can still be reviewed, especially during a divorce proceeding." I don't need a lecture, I said, sharper than I meant. Nadine didn't flinch. Process was another way to say delay. I took a breath and pressed my palms flat on the counter. I have mediation at noon. I need to know if I can pay rent next week. Nadine's eyes flicked to my wedding ring finger. Bare. There is a way to place a temporary restriction, but it depends on what the fraud specialist finds. Depends, I repeated. My voice went thin. She slid a single-page form toward me. You need to sign a statement that you did not authorize the transfer. The paper trembled when I touched it. I used the tethered pen and wrote my name slowly, like careful letters could protect me. Marissa Holt. Same last name as the person who just gutted my life. When I finished, Nadine took the form and tucked it into a folder with a red tab. She closed it with a soft snap that made my shoulders jump. A man stepped up behind me, too close, and cleared his throat. Nadine raised her hand to him without looking. "One moment, sir," he muttered and backed off. A small mercy. My phone buzzed again. Daniel. Nadine watched it happen. Her eyebrows lifted a fraction. "He knows you're here," she said. I swallowed. "He's guessing." Nadine's phone rang. She picked it up immediately and turned her body slightly away. But I heard enough. "Yes," she said. "That's her. She is here now." She listened. Then her eyes went to my face, and the kindness finally drained out of her expression. "Okay," she said into the receiver. "And you're sure it came from his device at that time?" She hung up and set the phone down with a deliberate, careful motion. "Our fraud specialist pulled the authorization trail," she said. "There's something you need to see." I leaned in. "Show me." Nadine opened the red tab folder and slid out a printed log sheet. She tapped one line with her nail. The line had a timestamp, a location, and a device note. And it wasn't from Daniel's phone. It was from a number saved in my contacts under one name I never questioned. Lena. Word count. 842. Next step. Reply 1. Continue equals write. Part 3. Eat it equals revise. Part 2. Tell me what to change. Stop. Continue. Das suignyi trong mui bas. Part 3. I stared at the name like it was a typo the bank could fix. Lena. My coworker who offered to sit with me after lunch. Lena, who knew my coffee order and my showing schedule. Nadine kept her finger on the printed line, holding it in place. The bank lobby noise blurred behind her, like someone turned the volume down. The authorization trail didn't say Daniel Holt. It said Lena. "That can't be right," I said, and my voice sounded too small. Nadine's tone stayed professional, not gentle. "It is what the system captured. Time, location, device identifier." I gripped the edge of the counter. The tile was cold through my sleeves. Nadine slid the paper closer. "This shows the authorization originated near your office." Near my office. The place Lena walked in with damp hair and a travel mug. My phone buzzed again. "Daniel." I flipped it face down without looking. Nadine watched that move too. "Control." She was tracking who held it. "Is there any chance she had access to your phone?" Nadine asked. "No," I snapped, then forced air back into my chest. Nadine reached for the red tab folder and opened it with the same careful snap. She pulled out another sheet and set it beside the first. "This is the contact routing record," she said. The alert went to the phone number currently listed for the joint account. I leaned in, eyes skipping for anything that made sense. The number printed there was not mine. It was Lena's. My mouth went dry. That's not my number." Nadine's eyes didn't soften. "It has been listed for 38 days. 38 days. I counted backward without meaning to. A month and a week. That was right after Daniel moved his things out. Right after he told me, calm as a weather report, that he wanted an amicable process." I reached into my tote and pulled out the stamped envelope. My fingers shook so hard the flap rasped against the paper inside. I slid it open, wider than I had in my office, right there under the fluorescent lights, and tipped the contents onto the counter. A thick letterhead page. a smaller insert, and a plain receipt, with a double staple at the corner. My stomach turned. Nadine's gaze dropped to the receipt. "That is from this branch," she said, then pointed to the date. 2 days ago. I smoothed the paper once, then again, like I could iron the truth flat. 2 days ago, someone came here with my life in their hand. I looked up. "Can you tell me who?" Nadine's jaw tightened. "We have security logs. We also have privacy rules. But if fraud is involved, our fraud specialist can request records." "Request them," I said. "Right now. Extian." Nadine's phone rang again. She answered with her eyes still on me, like she already knew what the next sentence would do to my day. "Yes," she said. "She is still here." A pause. Her gaze shifted, just a fraction. "Understood." She hung up and slid a business card toward me. The name on it was Carmen Ellis, bank fraud specialist. Nadine wrote a number on the back with the tethered pen and pushed it over. "Carmen is sending an email thread to the address you verified," she said. "It will show what was changed and when." I blinked. "To my email?" Nadine's mouth tightened. "To the email currently listed on the joint account." I felt something cold spread behind my ribs. That should be mine. Nadine didn't answer. She only looked at the printed routing sheet again, then back at me. I opened my phone and typed my personal email into the search bar, hands clumsy. Nothing. No bank messages, no confirmations, no warnings. I clicked to my work email on the office system through my phone browser because it was the only one I could access without thinking. That inbox loaded fast, too fast. Like it had been waiting. A new message sat at the top with a subject line that made my skin crawl. "Account contact update confirmation. Joint account ending 1173. I tapped it. The email wasn't long. It was clean, polite, and sharp as a blade. It listed the changes in plain language. Phone number updated. Email updated. Alert routing updated. All effective immediately. And under requested by, it did not say Daniel Holt. It said my name, Marisa Holt. My thumb hovered over the screen, then pressed down to expand the details. The message showed a verification step, a code, and a time. Verification code sent at Wheat Duza. I swallowed hard. I didn't do this. Nadine's voice stayed even. "Then someone did it as you." I stared at the code line until my vision stuttered. The code had been sent to the phone number on file. Lena's number. I could hear Lena's voice in my head, casual at the coffee station. The way she said my name like it was safe. I looked up at Nadine, then down at the stamped envelope again. The envelope wasn't just evidence now. It was a warning that someone had been walking around with my identity like a spare key. I pushed the phone toward Nadine. "Print this." Nadine nodded once. "We will." My phone buzzed again. Not Daniel this time. "Lena." I stared at her name on the screen, then answered before my fear could stop me. "Hey," Lena said, bright, like a curtain dropping. "Where are you right now?" I kept my voice flat. "At the bank." A pause. Too long to be innocent. Then she said, softer, "Marissa, you need to leave." I tightened my grip on the stamped envelope. "Why?" Her breath hit the line, shaky. "Because Daniel just walked into our office, and he's asking for you by name. Telp. Word count. 832. Next step. Reply 1. Continue equals write part 4. Edit equals revise. Part 3. Tell me what to change. 2. Stop. Continue. Part cat. Lena's warning sat in my ear like a stone. I pulled my phone away and stared at the bank lobby glass. Snow melt slid down the window in thin lines. Nadine was already moving, gathering my printed pages into the red tab folder like she was packing up a mess. "What did she say?" Nadine asked. I kept my voice low. "She said my husband is at my office, asking for me by name." Nadine's eyes flicked to the lobby, then back to my hands. "If he is trying to influence you, that matters." "It's not influence," I said. "It's a threat with better manners." I slid the stamped envelope back into my tote and pressed it down flat, like I could keep it from breathing. My mediation was at noon. It was 11:03 a.m. now, and the city felt suddenly too small for all the places Daniel could be. Nadine handed me 2 fresh printouts. The contact change confirmation. The alert routing record. Take these, she said, and answer Carmen when she calls. Do not delete anything. I nodded, then forced myself to do the one practical thing I could still control. I opened my calendar and canceled my noon showing. My thumb hovered over the reason box. Then I typed, "Family emergency." It was the first honest thing I had said all day. He was already rewriting my life in public. I walked out of the bank with my tote strap cutting into my shoulder. The cold air hit my face and made my eyes water. People passed me with paper cups and grocery bags, normal and unbothered. I climbed into my car and sat there with the engine off, watching my breath fog the windshield. My phone buzzed. Carmen Ellis. I answered on the second ring. "This is Marissa." Carmen's voice was calm, clipped, practiced. "Marissa, I am looking at your joint account file now. I need to ask a few questions." I pressed the heel of my hand into my thigh. "Ask." 38 days ago, the contact phone number and email were changed, she said. That change was verified through a code sent to the new phone number. "Lena's number," I said. A pause. "Yes," Carmen said. "Now, the transfer this morning was authorized from a device located near your office, and the destination is tied to a trust account, ending 4421. I swallowed. "Holt Family Trust. One Kime." "Correct," Carmen said. "Do you recognize the trust?" "No," I said, "but it has my last name." Carmen kept going, like she was reading a weather report. 2 days ago, someone came into our branch and requested a printed balance letter and a contact update form. That is documented. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. "Can you tell me who?" "I can tell you what our records can support," she said. "We have a visitor record and we have a security entry record. I have requested both." Requested. Not received yet. Process again. Delay again. I stared at the slush piled along the curb and felt the edge of panic trying to climb up my throat. I forced it down with a breath that tasted like old coffee. "Carmen," I said. "My husband is at my workplace right now." Carmen did not react emotionally. She did not gasp. She only said, "Then, you should not go there alone." "I don't have a choice," I said. "That is where my paycheck comes from. It is—" There was a quiet beat. Then Carmen said, "I can place a temporary hold request on outgoing transfers. It will not reverse what is already gone, but it can stop the next move." "Do it," I said. "I need your verbal confirmation," she said. "You did not authorize the withdrawal of 21,118.77. "I did not authorize it," I said, and the words came out like a vow. "Good," Carmen said. "I am documenting this." "And Marissa?" "Yes," went to Secusion a very Pravik. "If someone can reroute your alerts, they can also reroute your narrative," she said. "Keep copies. Keep everything." I ended the call and sat for 2 seconds with my phone in my lap, feeling its weight like a tool and a weapon at the same time. Then I did something I almost never did. I called Lena back. She answered too fast. "Marissa? Where is he?" I asked. Lena's voice was strained, too careful. "He's by the front desk." "Is he alone?" I asked. "No," she said, then corrected herself quickly. "I mean, he came in alone, but he's talking to Kevin from compliance." Compliance. The word made my stomach drop. That was not a casual visit. That was a move. "Put me on speaker," I said. "I can't," Lena whispered. "He'll hear." "Then tell me this," I said, slow. "Did you change my account contact information?" Silence. My knuckles went white around the phone. "Lena," I said, "answer me." Her breath sounded thin. "Not like this. Not like this." Like there was a gentle way to steal someone's ground. I stared at the stamped envelope in my tote. My hand went in and touched its edge, the paper stiff and cold. I wanted the truth, and my hands were already shaking. Look at me, I said, then realized she could not. I swallowed and tried again. Listen to me. I am walking into the office in 3 minutes. If you have something to say, say it now. Lena's voice cracked. Daniel told me you were going to ruin him. I laughed once, sharp and ugly. I didn't even know what he was doing. He said you'd take everything, she said. He said the joint account was temporary. Anyway, temporary. The same word from the memo field in my mind, like my survival was a placeholder. I shifted my car into drive and pulled out of the parking space. The heater blew cold air for the first minute, then warmed up. My hands started to sweat anyway. As I turned onto the main road, I passed the courthouse exit sign. Mediation was still at noon. Daniel knew that. He picked today on purpose. He wanted me frantic, late, unsteady. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. I tapped it at the next red light. One line. No greeting. Check your workplace visitor log. Ask who signed me in. I stared at that sentence while my pulse hammered behind my eyes. Then I looked up and saw my office building 2 blocks ahead, its front windows reflecting the winter sky like a blank face. And I realized the wrong person was not just me. It was whoever just decided to warn me first. Word count, 836. Next step, reply 1. Continue equals write, part 5. Edit equals revise, part 4. Tell me what to change. 2. Continue. That suy trong 18. Part, sync. The conference room smelled like dry marker and stale mints. I stood at the end of the table with my tote strap wrapped around my wrist, stamped envelope inside like a brick. The wall clock read 2:26 p.m., and the second hand sounded loud enough to be a threat. Lena sat closest to the door, hands folded, eyes red-rimmed. Daniel leaned back in a chair like he owned the air. He wore the same navy coat he wore to nice dinners, the one that made strangers trust him. Kevin Ralston, our compliance officer, opened a notebook and clicked a pen. We are here because a personal dispute entered workplace space, he said, careful. Marissa, Daniel, keep this professional. Daniel smiled at that word like it was a gift. He brought my divorce into my paycheck's oxygen. I set my phone on the table and slid it forward. The bank confirmation email filled the screen, subject line still bright at the top. Daniel's eyes flicked to it and away. This is unnecessary, he said. She's spiraling. Kevin looked at me. Marissa, what do you want from this meeting? I opened my tote and took out the printed bank pages Nadine gave me. I smoothed the top sheet on the table, then slid it toward Kevin. I want the workplace to document that he came here today, I said, and I want a witness that he is pressuring me. Daniel laughed softly. Pressuring her, he repeated, like it was adorable. Lena's throat bobbed. She stared at the tabletop, not at me. Kevin's pen paused. Daniel, are you employed here? No, Daniel said, but I have a right to protect myself. From what? I asked. He leaned forward, elbows on the table. From your lies, he said. From you playing victim when you cannot even manage your own money. That's why I took it. The room went still. Even Kevin stopped breathing for a beat. Heat rushed up my neck, sharp and humiliating. I felt it in my ears. I felt it in Lena's silence. I looked Daniel straight in the eyes. Say it once more. On record. Daniel's smile twitched. On record, he repeated, mocking. Fine. You cannot manage money. I consolidated the account. Kevin's pen moved fast across paper. I reached into my tote and pulled out the stamped envelope, then set it flat on the table between us. The stamp caught the overhead light. That envelope was stamped at a local bank branch, I said, 2 days ago. It contains the trust account name you used. Daniel's gaze dipped to it, then snapped back up. That is not relevant. It will be, I said. A knock hit the conference room door, sharp and official. Kevin looked up, startled. The door opened, and our building security officer, Troy, stepped in with his radio clipped to his belt. Behind him stood Nadine Brooks, branch manager, with a red tab folder under her arm. Carmen Ellis walked beside her, carrying a small portable printer bag and a thick stack of papers. Daniel's face drained of color so fast it looked like someone pulled a shade down. Carmen's eyes went straight to me. "Marissa Holt," she said. I nodded, throat tight. "I'm here." Kevin half stood. "This is a workplace meeting," he began, confused. Carmen did not ask permission. She walked to the table and placed her stack down with a deliberate thud. Nadine set the red tab folder beside it and flipped it open. "We are here because the fraud review escalated," Carmen said. Her voice was calm, but it carried weight. "And because the transfer authorization trail intersects with this building." Daniel pushed his chair back a fraction. "This is harassment," he said. Troy shifted one step closer to the door, not to block Daniel in, but to make sure everyone saw he could. Carmen slid one sheet toward Kevin. "This is the visitor badge scan entry," she said. "Time-stamped." Kevin took it, eyes narrowing as he read. His pen stopped. His mouth tightened. I leaned forward and read it upside down. "Visitor badge issued. Daniel Holt. Sponsor, Lena Carter. Time, 9:07 a.m. Lena's head snapped up, eyes wide. "I didn't," she whispered, then swallowed. "I mean," Carmen's finger tapped the timestamp. "This badge was scanned at your front desk and again at your elevator access point," she said. "It confirms presence." Daniel's jaw flexed. "She signed me in because she is my friend," he said, voice rising. "None of this proves theft." End quote. Nadine pulled another page from the red tab folder and slid it across the table like a final card. "This is the contact change form requested 2 days ago," she said. "It was completed with Marissa Holt's name, verified through a code sent to Lena Carter's phone number." Lena made a small sound, like air escaping a balloon. Kevin looked at Lena. "Is that true?" he asked. Lena's hands shook as she grabbed her mug, then set it down too hard. "Daniel told me she would destroy him," she said, voice breaking. "He said she would file something and take everything. He asked me to help reroute the alerts so she would not interfere." Daniel snapped. "Stop talking." Carmen's eyes stayed on Daniel. "The authorization for the withdrawal came from a device located near this office," she said. "We also have the call log time cluster around the verification message. It aligns with Lena Carter's number, receiving the code at 8:12 a.m. Daniel's voice went brittle. "You cannot prove I touched her phone." "I do not need to prove your fingers," Carmen said. "I need to document intent and coordination." Kevin's face changed. Workplace neutrality slid into something harder. "Daniel," he said. "You entered this building under employee sponsorship. You are not welcome here if you are coercing staff." Daniel stood up fast enough to rattle his chair. "This is absurd," he said, pointing at me. "She set this up. She is doing exactly what I said." I stayed seated. I placed my palm flat on the stamped envelope and smoothed it once. Then I looked at Troy. "He is not my problem anymore," I said. "He is yours." Troy stepped forward, voice firm. "Sir, you need to leave the building." Daniel turned to Lena, eyes sharp. "You idiot," he hissed. Lena flinched like he hit her, and the sound of that flinch was louder than any insult. Troy moved closer. "Now," he said. Daniel grabbed his coat off the chair and yanked it on. His eyes burned into mine as he backed toward the door. "This is not over," he said. Carmen lifted her phone and glanced at the screen, then spoke without looking up. "The fraud referral is live," she said. "And a patrol car just pulled up outside. Word count, 844. Next step, reply 1. Continue equals write, part 6. Edit equals revise. Part 5, tell me what to change. Stop, continue, part 6. The hallway outside the conference room felt too bright, too public. People were pretending to refill water bottles just to watch. I kept my tote tight against my side, stamped envelope pressed flat inside. Carmen stood near the doorway with Nadine, both of them calm. Daniel's voice faded down the corridor, sharp and desperate, then cut off like a door closed on it. I did not chase him. I did not explain myself. I just breathed once and kept my feet planted. I didn't raise my voice. I raised the paperwork. Troy stayed at the front, posture squared. Kevin walked beside me like he had finally understood this was not gossip. This was record. This was liability. We reached the lobby windows. Outside, a patrol car sat at the curb, lights flashing without sound. Two uniformed officers stood by the entrance, talking to Daniel a few steps away. I could not hear the words, but I could read his hands. Open, pleading. Then chopping the air. Angry. Lena hovered behind the reception desk, like she wanted to melt into the wall. When her eyes met mine, she looked away fast, like my face was a mirror she could not stand. Carmen spoke quietly beside me. "You do not need to engage him," she said. "You do not need to defend yourself." I nodded, but my throat still felt tight. "What happens now?" "The fraud referral is active," she said. "We document coordination, routing changes, and the transfer authorization trail. Your mediation can proceed with a clean record." Clean. Nothing about this felt clean. It felt like having my kitchen drawers dumped out in front of strangers. Kevin cleared his throat. "Marissa, I will write a statement for the file," he said. "This is not your workplace failing. This is an outside party using our access." I looked at him. "And Lena?" Kevin's mouth tightened. "She will be addressed separately." Lena flinched at the word addressed, her shoulders folded inward, small. For 1 second, I felt something like pity. Then I remembered the code sent at 8:12. Pity did not pay rent. I stepped closer to the window and watched Daniel's coat collar lift as he spoke to the officers. He glanced toward the building, maybe hoping to catch my eyes and pull me back into his story. I did not give him that. Carmen handed me a plain folder, thick with copies. I took it with both hands, feeling the weight. Paper, ink, times, numbers, things that did not care how charming Daniel sounded. The numbers finally spoke louder than his voice. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Mediation reminder. Noon had come and gone, but the mediator's office had sent a new message with a reschedule option. I opened the message and saw a line I had never seen before, attached to the updated case notes. "Unauthorized withdrawal, documented by bank records." I swallowed. A new kind of air moved through my chest. Not relief. Not yet. More like the floor stopping its slow tilt. Kevin touched my elbow lightly. "Do you want me to walk you to your car?" "I can do it," I said, then surprised myself by adding, "But thank you." In the parking lot, the wind cut between buildings and made my eyes water again. I got into my car, shut the door, and sat with my hands on the steering wheel, not turning the key. The stamped envelope was still in my tote. I pulled it out and placed it on the passenger seat. The stamp caught the weak winter light, and for the first time, it looked less like a threat and more like a boundary. I drove home slowly, stopping at every red light, like the world had rules again. When I reached my apartment, I carried the folder inside like it was fragile, like it was proof I deserved to stand on my own ground. In my kitchen, I set the folder on the table corner where Daniel used to leave his keys. The empty spot felt loud. I went to the sink and turned on the water. It came out cold, then warmed. I washed my hands longer than I needed to, rubbing my thumbs like I could scrub off the last month. Then I dried them, opened a drawer, and slid the stamped envelope into a plain file folder. I pressed it flat with my palm, once, and closed the drawer with a soft click. No speech. No victory lap. Just a quiet action that felt like mine. When my phone buzzed again, it was not Daniel, it was Carmen, sending one final line. "Hold is confirmed. Transfers are restricted as of 2:41 p.m. I stared at the time, then set the phone face down on the table. Outside, a neighbor's car door slammed. Someone laughed in the hallway. Normal sounds, normal life, returning one piece at a time. I poured myself a fresh cup of coffee and let it steam against my hands.